everyone, it's Carol here in Crafting HQ. I'm in the middle of making some wall decor pieces for my room, and so I want to bring you on the journey today of how to make this particular piece. It's made with Mdf Letters and cardboard and some wrapping paper. So I'll see you on my desk in a minute where I show you how I'm going to make this. So these letters here are the ones that I'm using on this sign, and they were Mdf letters, and I got them off Amazon, and they were £1 a letter, and they're Paper Mania letters. Now they've all been inked up already with my trusty shoe polish. I don't know whether you can see, that was the colour that they were originally, and they've all had 2 coats except this S. So I'm just going to get some ink flowing from the shoe polish and just give it a second coat to just darken it up a little. Now I'm leaving the edges of the letters uncoloured so that it sort of gives it a little bit of a shadow effect. So that should now match up nicely with the rest of the colours. Second step is I've got this big button, and I got it from a freebie from a magazine. I don't know whether they are readily available, but there's no reason why you can't make your own from a big piece of card. Punch out a big circle, punch 4 holes in the middle, and you've got yourself a button. And I'm going to use, and I have to be careful with this stuff because I'm allergic to it, but I'm going to use the string, and I want to start. Which way do I want to start? I want to start on the outside, take it through to the back, and then through the other hole. Then I'm going to knot it and do a big bow. I might do 2 knots. Now I'm just going to lay my letters out in order with a rough idea of spacing so that I can measure the length that I want my board to be that it's going to sit on. Now my letters height wise measure 4 inches. So I know that the depth of the board that I want it to go on needs to be more than 4 inches. So I'm going to add roughly 1.5 inches to 2 inches on the top and 1.5 inches to 2 inches on the bottom. So that would make it 4, 5, 6, 7 inches tall-ish. That's at 1.5 inches extra on each side. So about 7 inch. And then the length of all my letters, because obviously there's no point in measuring each one individually. So I've laid them all out. So that's 26 inches long. And again, if I had 1.5 inches at that end and 1.5 inches at that end, then that makes that 29 inches long. So that's how long I need to cut my pieces of cardboard. Now, because I've had a load of deliveries of furniture lately, I've got lots of cardboard boxes which I've been saving, and they're really long because they've been sort of holding my tabletops in. So I've cut some pieces down. Now I'm going to make 3 layers out of this. This is going to be the top layer. Now one of the things that you need to remember with cardboard is you get a single I don't know whether you can see that, a single layer of corrugated card, but you can also get double corrugated card as well, which is obviously thicker and stronger. This is only single, and as you can see from the crease lines here, it bends and folds following the corrugation of the card that's in between the two layers of paper. So I've cut a second layer. Now I didn't have enough to cut one complete full strip, so I've had to cut it down into two pieces, but as you can see, the corrugation is still going vertically, so it means that that card is going to bend really easily. So I'm going to put a third layer on, which will be like a middle layer. So I'm going to make a sandwich of this will be the layer that I'll stick my letters onto, and then I'm going to stick another layer on the back, but this time I've got some strips and I'm going to stick these strips on vertically. Alright, so let me just give you a for instance. So I've got my Yoo-hoo glue, and it can be any glue so long as it's a strong one. I'm just going to put some glue on there. And then I'm going to stick that piece on there. So that the corrugation of the card is now going horizontally, and that will help to give it some support. And then I'll trim off the excess here and stick the next one on and the next one on. That's all the little strips now in place, and I've actually put some brown tape on there as well to just hold them in place because my glue hasn't quite gone off yet. So I've now got these two long strips to stick on top of that, and again they're just long strips because I didn't have one whole piece from this box that I cut up. So I'm now going to stick those on top. So corrugation on the bottom piece is going vertical, the corrugation on these little pieces is going horizontal, and the corrugation on this third piece is going vertical, and that should make it really nice and sturdy. So I'm just going to add my glue on this and get that stuck down, and I'll be back shortly. It's not easy to cut cardboard straight, even with a craft knife, and especially as I've done layers, it can end up a little bit jagged on the edges here. So I've got some brown sticky tape, but you could use paper, and I'm going to just add a strip all the way around the four sides and curl it round to the back, because it now means that when I attach my paper or fabric to this board, it will show through, the jagged edges will show through. So I'm just going to do that to all four sides and make it nice and smooth and neat. So as you can now see, I've wrapped the tape around the front and the back to give me a nice smooth edge, and I've done that around all four sides. So now it's time to cover it. So my layers of corrugated card are now stuck together. I've put tape around the edges, so I'm now going to cover it. Now I'm going to cover mine in a wrapping paper that I've got, which is this one here, which is really pretty. It's a craft paper, but it's got a white print on it. But there's no reason why you couldn't cover it in fabric or sticky back plastic. So I want to stick it on the front round to the back. So I'm just going to lay my piece of board onto the back of the paper. Now this paper is exactly the same width as the board that I've made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a couple of strips on the ends first, and then I'll stick this onto here. But whilst I've got it in place, I might as well cut it to size. So it's a little bit like wrapping a present. That's my board all nicely covered now. So I'm just going to arrange my letters on here so that I can get the spacing about right. B-O-T-T-O-N-S. Okay, so it can go a little bit more that way. I don't trust myself to stick these on straight. So I'm actually going to draw a line with, and I want the word buttons a little bit higher, so I don't want it in the centre because there's a bit of decoration that I want to add on the bottom. Okay, I'm happy with the spacing of that. Now I've got some Type Bond original wood glue, and that's what I'm going to attach my letters with. So we'll start with the U first. And I don't want to put too much glue on because it'll just squidge out. You watch, it'll go and squidge out now anyway. Now I've said that, that's the U. Right, I'm going to just let that go off for a little bit, make sure that that glue's nice and set. I might even rest something on top of it to apply a little bit of pressure to make sure that it's got a nice contact. I'm off to make myself a cup of tea and then I'll come back and show you how I'm going to finish this off. Next part that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this measuring tape up. Now this was from Victoria Designs sewing kit. But it's good because it carries on with the numbers, so 10, 11, 12. So I'm going to cut these into individual little strips. And then I'm going to sit them underneath the word buttons to create a little bit of a frame. Now once I've cut them out, I may need to ink up the edges because I've printed it onto white paper. And I don't really want the white edge showing. So let's cut one off and let's have a look and see if it'll need inking up. Got to get the placement of this just right to be able to get the tape right. Okay. Actually, I might be able to get away with that because I'm a bit worried that if I ink it up, the ink is going to fall on top of the tape. So yeah, I'm going to leave it and I'm just going to cut these off and then I'll stick them on. So that's going to sit underneath the letters. And they should just be able to butt up next to each other. So I reckon 28 3/4 inches. So, how are we looking? Okay, one last thing decorative wise that I want to add. I've got these metal corners which are really meant for boxes, but I thought that they would be really nice and just finish it off on the corners. So I'm going to get my glossy accents and just put some glue in there. And on the face of it. Now this protrudes just deeper, slightly deeper than the actual board. So I need to put something underneath it. Because otherwise, as soon as I sit it down, it's going to lift it off. There we go. And I just got these off Amazon. So if you put in, say, box corners, they should come up. In fact, I might even try and find them and add them to my Amazon affiliate link, which you can find in the description box below. There's two things left that I want to do and then I'm going to call this done. So one is, as many of you know, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, I like doing the faux stitching. So I've got my two favourite pens for doing that. So I've got my Posca pen, and this is a 0.7mm, and then this is one of my other favourites, which I've had for a very long time, and I'm a pen top chewer. Naughty girl. And this is a 0.5. Now I just want to test it out on this scrap piece of paper, which is the same as this paper here on the back, because I want to see if there's any bleed, and whether I think that the width of the nib is wide enough to create the effects that I want. So that's the Muji one, which is the 0.5. And that's the Posca pen, which is the 0.7. And I think that the 0.7 might work best. And I'm going to do, sorry, move my cup of tea out the way. I'm going to do the faux stitching around all four sides to just frame it in. And then the other thing that I'm going to add are these little pieces here, which are for picture framing, which again I got off Amazon, and they're the picture hooks. So I'm going to glue these on the back, and I'm going to glue one in the middle and one sort of, yeah, about a third of the way in, a quarter of the way in.